Good morning and welcome to Gospel Bytes, where we take a bite of the gospel for the day. Today is Monday, October 21st. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Glory to you, O Lord. This is taken from Luke chapter 12, verses 13 to 21. Someone in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to share the inheritance with me." He replied to him, "Friend, who appoint me Who appointed me as your judge and arbitrator?" Then he said to the crowd, "Take care to guard against all greed. For though one may be rich, one's life does not consist of possessions." Then he told them a parable. There was a rich man whose land produced a bountiful harvest. He asked himself, "What shall I do? For I do not have the space to store my harvest." And he said, "This is what I shall do. I shall tear down my barns and build larger ones. There I shall store all my grain and other goods. And I shall say to myself, 'Now as for you, you have so many good things stored up for many years. Rest, eat, drink, and be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this night your life will be demanded of you. And the things you have prepared, to whom will they belong?' Thus this will be for the one who stores up treasure for himself, but is not rich in what matters to God." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. So today Jesus tells us the parable of this, it's called the parable of the rich fool. And sad to say, this is the plight of so many people today. They build up empires, they amass wealth, they work all their lives for things which become their God, because these are the things on which they put their trust, the things that they not you may not say worship, but the things that they pursue, the most important treasure in their life, and that becomes their idol, or that becomes their God. And Jesus said, you know, well, to begin with, there were these brothers, two brothers who were arguing about inheritance, and one of them came to Jesus. Isn't it true that sometimes, or oftentimes, families break up, siblings especially break up because of conflicts on inheritance, on land? Their parents leave them these land, and then they fight over it. And it's very common. It's not something that is isolated. And Jesus said, "Take care to guard against all greed." In the parable, this guy, he never even attributed his success to Jesus. It doesn't say he worked hard to have this huge harvest. It just said that for that year, there was a great harvest. It wasn't because he worked harder that year. It was just God decided to give him all these blessings. But he never mentioned anything about God. Everything is about him. He thought that it was all his. So instead of sharing it with others, he said, "Well, I need to store even more." So that's why he wanted to build more barns. That night he died. And it's interesting. Jesus called him, he said, "You fool." In the Psalms, the word fool, there's a verse that says, "You fool." The fool says in his heart, "There is no God." People who people may say that they believe in God. People say, "Oh, Jesus is Lord," but then their actions prove that show that there is no God. That's how they live. They say it in their heart. A lot of Christians say, "Oh yes, I love Jesus. Yes, I'm a Christian. I'm a Catholic, but I have no time for Mass. I have no time to pray. I have no time for God." So they act as if there is no God. They're no different from atheists. Someone asked, what's the difference between an atheist, someone who doesn't believe in God, and someone who says he believes in God but does not go to Mass, doesn't pray? And Our Lady in Medjugorje said, there is no difference. They're one and the same. Both of them, they don't believe in God. But that night he died, and he said, it says here, the things you have prepared, to whom will they belong? Which is the sad reality. No? People toil, they slave over possessions, over securities. And when they die, um, the ones who inherit them don't even care about these things. You know, sometimes I go to uh, secondhand shops, or and I see these very expensive collections of baseball cards, caps, and so many other things, very expensive, and yet they're just being sold for a few dollars, a few cents even. No? Imagine these people who have collected these things for years, and the people who buy them, they don't even know their value. Huh? So what's the point of all of these? Jesus is saying, well, you may have everything in this world that the world thinks is valuable, but if you do not have God in your life, then you'll have nothing. So today, think about the greatest treasure that you have. If it's not God, then it's worth nothing. You're still poor. The greatest wealth, the greatest treasure is our relationship with Jesus. I'm Father Jerry Sembrano for another edition of Gospel Bytes. God bless you. Have a nice day.